Terrifier 3. Very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you.
When you heard that this third installment was going to be based around Christmas, what were your first reactions? Whoever wants to start, David or
Sure.
whoever.
I was excited. I've known this for a few years. I think Damien came up with the idea while we were filming part two or around that time. And so I was stoked. I love that idea because I love Christmas horror films and I love the idea of putting art into a new situation and a new environment. And I thought that was just going to lend itself to all kinds of fun, creative kills. I was not wrong.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Lauren?
I'm not a huge Christmas fan. I don't enjoy Christmas, but I do enjoy Christmas horror films. I really love seeing the beautiful bright lights and colors juxtaposed with all that blood, and I think they just play really well together. So I was excited to infuse some horror and a bit of like Halloween into Christmas. So I was psyched.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a great juxtaposition, and yeah, I love the end result. So well done.
Thank you.
And yeah, for you, Lauren, I mean, returning to this harrowing journey of Sienna. I mean, did you have any reservations? I mean, after you know, super. I mean, the first, of course, was so groundbreaking. Then part two, your story is so intense, and then returning for a third part. Yeah, were you hesitant at all? I mean, it's these are such intense movies.
Yeah, no, I mean, I actually really love horror and intense movies, so there was no reservations to hop back into the story. I really love Sienna, and I really love her journey. And I was really excited to like sink my teeth into some of the places she could go, considering her mental state. So I did a lot of research on that, and I was just really psyched to help continue tell her story.
Right. That makes sense. And as I was asking that, I realized you just said you liked horror, so that's totally get it. And I love horror as well, so that's great. And I loved your performance, so well done. And David, I have to ask, I mean, between all three of these movies, have you ever been, officially grossed out or haunted by any particular things that you've done in character as art?
It happened in part three.
Okay.
There's a notorious moment that happened near the end of the film that really grossed me out a lot. It's one thing I just can't handle in real life either. And Damien knew that, so I think he definitely put that in there just to really mess with me on set. And then it was just the environment I was in too. Just made it worse because we were in a hot, smelly house at the time. And then Samantha comes in, who played Victoria, eating this horrible smelling bag of corn nuts. So that just exasperated everything more. But also, I think what is involved in that kill is just so horrific too. And it's just that I'm a very empathetic person. In that moment, I really empathized with what was going on. I was like, oh my God, this is such a horrible thing to actually be doing to a human being. I think it's one of the worst things I've actually seen art do, and that's saying a lot. But I mean, to me, I just thought this is morbid.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. No spoilers, of course.
Of course.
Um, and yeah, and that sort of brings me, you say he did that maybe to mess with you. And I was curious, behind the scenes for all, the two of you with Damien. I mean, in between takes, is he, is there sort of a sense of humor or, things you do to keep the mood light or, is it important to sort of keep it at a certain tone, even when the camera isn't rolling, kind of thing?
Absolutely. I mean, Dave is constantly like joking around and being silly in between takes. Thank God. I think we'd
Yeah.
all insane otherwise if he was full method and stayed in character. With Damien, like he loves seeing us suffer sometimes. And there was this one moment, and we can say spoilers, right?
Sure, sure, yeah.
Okay. There's a one moment where Dave has the intestines around my neck, and the gag, it was supposed to shoot outward, but instead it went straight up my nose, and I was just like choking on like this puree of cherries and dish soap, and I'm like gagging, and Damien's like, and I wanted to just go spit it out, and Damien's like, wait, hold that, and he just like takes a picture of me looking miserable, and Dave's just behind like smiling. It was just yeah, we have
It's so gross.
And then you're like, please delete that.
Yeah.
like I love moments like that because you know, the film is so horrific that like I love seeing the happiness we have behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, I think they got a lot of joy out of watching me almost throw up too. I think they were even trying to encourage it more, and they had the cameras right on me too. They're just like, hey, Dave, how you feeling? I'm like, no, go away, go away. It's just that's just how it is on set. It's not just Damien, it's the whole entire crew. All of us really get along really well, joke around a lot and stuff like that. And there's a lot of levity. It's actually surprising how much levity there is on a horror set when there's so much horrific stuff going on, and I think we do that just for that very reason.
Of course. Yeah, of course that's got to be important. So yeah, that's great to hear. And Lauren, I was going to ask, David, I was reading an article where you're talking about how these movies pass that certain metric test that confirms that these movies are indeed feminist, and Lauren, I was curious if hearing that, if you agree with that these are feminist movies, and if looking at these movies, how you feel about that.
Totally. I mean, I Terrifier 2 and 3, and I think even 1, they all pass the Bechdel test. And
Bechdel, yeah.
it is unfortunate when people, and I do know that Terrifier, a lot of the drawl is the gore, but it is unfortunate when they just forget that like there is multiple strong female characters in this franchise, and that are fighting for their lives and fighting for family, and I think to ignore that is disingenuous, and yeah, I'd have to agree. And I do think horror in general, especially the slasher subgenre, is very feminist, because it is true that most serial killers, unfortunately, are men, and most serial killers, unfortunately, target women. And art imitates life, no pun intended. But actually, no pun intended. And so yeah, so when you see that in film, you want to see a strong female rival, and I think we see that multiple times in the Terrifier franchise. So to ignore that again, I think is disingenuous.
Of course. Yeah, totally get it. Yeah, that's great. And yeah, last question, Terrifier 4, if it happens, we talk about the cool juxtaposition in part 3. I mean, have you talked about like, oh, wouldn't it be wild if, the next movie took place in X, Y, or Z, or has there been any talk behind the scenes about an even crazier juxtaposition or anything like that?
I think a little bit there's been some things. I'm like I don't think we want to necessarily do the whole holiday killer type of thing though. So I don't think we're actually going to focus on an actual another holiday.
Right.
But I mean, I just the other day I had an idea that I ran by Damien that he really liked, that I like it. A fun situation I would love to put art in that I've really never seen happen in a slasher before, and I think that would be fun.
Could you share could you hint about it at all, or?
Not really, because I don't want to jinx anything, but I just think it would definitely put him also in more of a male patriarchal situation where it's like it's so he's going up probably against a bunch of men in this situation. I think that would be really cool.
Of course, yeah. What about you, Lauren? I mean, have you pictured art in any sort of crazy, backwards scenario where like let's put art here and see how he does, kind of thing?
So many times. But I agree with Dave and Damien that I definitely I wouldn't want this to become a holiday
Of
like
course.
every holiday. I mean, as fun as it would be, and I think they don't want to go into like Terrifier 10. I mean, who knows what will happen? But I've always kind of pictured and thought it would be fun seeing Art in space with wearing the whole uniform and the helmet, and I'd like to see like his hat on top of the helmet. Like that is something like, so that would be a fun imagery for me, just for fun.
Yep, that sounds great. Yeah, I would see it.
We'll take him to space camp in my
Exactly.
hometown of Huntsville, Alabama. We could do that. Art goes to space camp. Yay.
Yeah, it's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thanks, guys. This was great. I can't wait for everyone else to see part 3, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, and take care.